Mason, what's going on, man? Kind of a wild morning on the phone lines today. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, I was getting active in the chat earlier, having a good time. I'm working from home today, so I guess not really being that productive. But I'd called in when you
Oh,
were
this is very
on your rant about the
productive. No,
Sox.
it's all about priorities.
Yeah,
You're being very, very productive, worrying about Notre Dame football in late May. Dude, Mason, I just feel like everybody, you have all this summer layoff. Everybody's thinking everything 50 different ways, and it gets in your mind. We're in a weird place as the collective Notre Dame group. I'm open to your thoughts. What do you think about any of it?
well, first I just wanted to say that last night Pedro Grifol said that nobody wants to win more than Jerry Reinsdorf. So I wanted to, I don't know if you saw that, but that's just absurd. And then second, yeah, it's just a weird time of year. I think last time we were on here, we were worried about recruiting, and then Dallas Golden popped, and Mark Zachary popped, and now it's looking like Grubbs is going to pop here in the next week or two. So things are looking better on the recruiting side. I'd like to see Notre Dame land a receiver or two in the month of June, and I think it'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't tell you which two. I would say that like the top five that they're in for, whether it's Meadows, Taylor, Chinook Hines. There's a couple others I'm missing, but they're all like in the same position for like five of those guys. So I think you just take the two that are willing to that are willing to pop, and you go from there. You got Don Blair still on the board.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask about. I was going to ask about him as well. It looks like there's a Will Fong crystal ball out for that one.
Yeah, so Michigan and Penn State are all over Blair too. I think Notre Dame's been in the lead for a long time. It's just the DB spots are filling up super fast. So I don't think Blair necessarily anticipated that. I mean, Zachary was looking Notre Dame for a long time. I think Golden was too, but I don't think that Blair necessarily anticipated them popping as quickly as they did. So he needs to get a spot before it's gone.
Yeah, man. What are your thoughts on all this Deuce stuff? You know how this goes, man. People are expecting to get burned here, and they're expecting it. And you see these articles, and some of it's clickbait in the summer. What are you going to write about to keep your recruiting clicks going? All that. I understand the game. What do you think the realities of this relationship are between him and Notre Dame and him and the SEC?
Yeah, I think it's all super interesting, and I think that we won't really know until we see how this 12-team playoff goes. I think we're going to know a lot about how Notre Dame's positioned to succeed after this first year of it, and we'll go from there. But they're already talking about expanding it again, and you had touched on earlier that expecting Notre Dame to win 4 in a row against top 12 teams is kind of crazy, and you especially need that first one to be at home. So definitely pushing for a home game, although you and I were saying the other day that you probably won't be able to be there, man, because I know you got to do your show.
I know. It's hard, man. The bigger the moment, the more I want to be there. But then the bigger the night, it would be on YouTube. So I'm in between.
Right. No, I get it. Yeah. I'm do everything I can to be there, but
it's history.
I got a show to run.
I mean, that's going to be history. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be something never, ever that's happened in Notre Dame, but it's going to be a big, big deal. And if you get a little,
awful.
Yeah. So the next thing out of my mouth is I want a winter wonderland. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. I want all of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's, this is a weird time of year. Everybody's in their own heads. There's not a ton of stuff going on to really grab onto. You have recruiting and then wrapping your mind around what's going to happen in the first game of the year, man. How big is this A&M game? Mason, this A&M game, it just feels like the ultimate needle mover, does it not? For all the momentum, practically and perceptually, it just feels like there's a lot riding on that one.
It does feel big, but then I don't know, you have some people where it's just like A&M hasn't won 10 games in 15 years or something like that, so they're saying it's not a big game. I think it is going on the road beating an SEC team, but to prove you're a big program, you need to go in there and beat them by 2 scores. That's what Bama, Georgia, that's what Ohio State would do to them. So I think it's a I don't know if it's a needle mover, but it's like proving that Marcus is the guy. We're going in and winning a game that Kelly probably wouldn't. So you go in there hopefully kick their ass and then go on, because your next 4 or 5 games after that really aren't that tough. You get to prepare for your schedule later on, build some depth, and see what you really have in this team. But you got to have all the chips in for week 1.
Yeah, you definitely do. And I really have no way to gauge what to expect from A&M. I have no way to gauge what how put together they're going to be, how the 30 transfers out and the 28 in are going to adjust, how well Elko could get his group to be coordinated week 1, year 1, game 1. Like, there's a lot of questions I don't have answers to on their end and our end. Like, it's just going to be an interesting experiment in front of the whole world.
I had said in the chat earlier that, especially with, it's going to be at night, their fans are rowdy, but with it being the first game under Elko, I think you just got to go out there and hit them in the mouth right away, take the crowd out of it. And if you can do that, I see us winning by 2 or 3 scores. But if you let them get excited and do a classic Notre Dame thing in a big game where an early interception, or you fumble a punt or a kick, and you give them the ball inside the 20, all of a sudden they're up 2 scores in the first quarter, then you're fucked. Then it's bad.
Yep. And we've seen it way too many times. And then the crowd that's already going to be into it cranks it up to another level. And then you're up against it. And then you just can't do it, man. You got to go in there and get leverage early. It's a big moment.
And then you get all those weirdos in their overalls screaming and yelling and doing their chants.
Mason, it's very, very, there's some odd things that go on there. One of their on-campus groups just got busted for underage kid stuff. Like, there is a lot of weird stuff that goes on there. I'm very uncomfortable even thinking about it. I don't think they got any shorts on underneath them overalls. Like, I don't trust anything, dude. I don't trust them at all. They are weird and bizarre. I want nothing to do with them, and I want us to win and then get the hell out of there.
Right. Last time I was up to see my parents, my dad was saying we need to go to an away game. Him and I have never been to a Notre Dame away game together, and he was talking about going to A&M. And I was like, in theory, that sounds super cool, but I don't know. I've just never been in, like, hostile territory before, and I just feel like they'd be weird.
Yeah, there's something going on down there. I think they drink the oil or something right out of the ground. Like, I don't know, man. I think there's something weird going on.
It's got to be. I think we might end up just doing Purdue, but Purdue's scary at night, man. I don't know. I couldn't handle going into Purdue and losing.
That's going to be an interesting one too. I don't know what to. Mason, is Purdue a little tricky? Because I feel like we're a bigger game to them than they are to us. And does that make it a difficult situation when it's right down the road? Like, I honestly feel that way. I feel that way. Purdue looks at us differently than we look at them, and I think that's a little bit tricky. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
Rivalry. It's been one-sided, and they always play us tough, but I kind of wonder if they've lost that Jeff Brown magic, like where they played Ohio State tough every single year and stuff like that, where when they're at home and you're just like, oh, shoot, like, things could happen real quickly. I haven't seen that under their new coach yet. I mean, it's only been a year or two, so we'll see what happens, but they'll be up for it. I mean, Notre Dame's used to that every game is other team's Super Bowl. So hopefully to be honest, that's the game I'm most concerned about, maybe just because I'm friends with a lot of Purdue grads and they're super excited, but
yeah, oh man. And then you know what else? Louisville at home. What do you think about that? Do you think there's no way at home that's going to be a totally different dynamic, and there's no way Notre Dame's doesn't have full attention for this one, and it's totally different ball game this time around?
I hope Freeman shows the game on repeat and shows all the mistakes they made over and over and let them know that, like, that's what derailed last year, and they show up fired up and score 28 in the first quarter. I think they'll come out fired up and beat Louisville handily, but that's just how I feel now. I think that they were just so outmatched. I don't want to say, like, they weren't prepared, because I think they were. They just, like, Freeman hasn't shown, and this team hasn't shown the ability to win big games on the road yet. And I guess that's what makes me nervous about A&M.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And then obviously November 9th, Florida State at home. It depends on where both teams are at from earlier in the year, but that could be a very, very big telling weekend at Notre Dame if Notre Dame positions themselves right up to that point. Yeah.
DJU is allergic to South Bend. I'm not worried about that guy.
That is a good point. We have multiple go-arounds. And then you know what else, Mason? When we have the odd years and we go to LA last game of the year, I almost can't spend a ton of time worrying about USC because it's the last game of the year. And there's all that body of work that's going to build in to shape the feeling of that game being the last game. That's so much different than anything on the front end of the schedule. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and USC is going to be beat up and done by then. I think that they're going to be ready for the season to be over. Yeah. They're going to be 7-4, maybe 6-5. They're ready to be done with Notre Dame. I anticipate that being a big win. USC, like, to their credit, their schedule's brutal this year.
Yeah, it is.
They don't handle physical teams very well. They're made to run and gun like in the Pac-12, which is fine. That worked for them before, but I don't see them being up for getting beat up in the trenches in the 12th game of their year where they've already lost 5 games.
Yeah, it's it's going to be really interesting to see those teams migrate over from the West Coast. Although I got to tell you, it wouldn't surprise me at all if you had an Oregon, Ohio State Big Ten championship game. That might be my early pick for it.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, I can't.
The new Big Ten's crazy.
I know. And you know what else is going to happen, Mason? A lot of those Big Ten teams that are used to being at a certain level, some of them are going to get knocked down a couple pegs because some of these West Coast teams, even though they're from the West Coast and have to adjust, are going to be better than a lot of those like middle tier Big Ten teams. Some of them are going to lose a few wins every year from this, and they're not going to like it. I'm telling you that right now.
I'm anticipating that happening to, a Wisconsin, a Penn State, like that. They're your 4th or 5th team in the old Big Ten that usually can make some noise, usually ranked. A lot of people are thinking Iowa's going to be super good this year. I think that they struggle with those, those spread offenses like the USC's and Oregon's can run. So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be super interesting stylistically. Yeah,
it's going to be, man, what an exciting year, man. You have so many big changes. You have the new playoff. It's just going to be really interesting. And we all know the history of year 3 coaches at Notre Dame. For whatever reason, it seems to be a harbinger of what's to come or not to come or whatever. So it's going to be a big year, man. Come on and break some recruiting down when we get a little further in the summer. We'll spend some time and look at where we're at. Does that sound good?
Yeah, without getting myself in trouble, June will be a good month for us, John. So I'll come on maybe the last week of June. Beautiful. That sounds good. Hey, thanks for taking the time, man. Have a good day. I'm glad you worked hard here and gave me a call today of working from home. Appreciate it, man. Hashtag priorities. Good job. That's right. I'll hang up and listen. Thanks, John. Thank you. Appreciate you, Mason.